Hey, my friends, today we are back and we're going to talk about that tug of war between who you are and who you think you should be. We're going to unravel the mystery of cognitive dissonance. I know that's two big words there. And discover how embracing discomfort can lead to profound personal transformation. So if you want to align your actions with your values and pave the way to a more authentic, fulfilling life, then listen in because this is going to be a game changer like so many others. Hey parents, welcome to Fulfillment Therapy. Do you want to raise your kids better and have a stronger marriage? Are you up late at night researching marriage and parenting tools and self-care tips? Do you start each day hoping for deeper connections and less chaos, but it ends with family arguments and going 12 different directions again? My name's Kendra, wife, mom, therapist, and growth enthusiast. It wasn't until I discovered how to fulfill my unmet needs that I was finally able to show up as my best self, as a spouse and parent. I realized that by meeting my needs, I could more fully meet the needs of my family, with more energy and less resentment. In this podcast, I teach parents skills like boundary setting, prioritizing personal needs, communication, and claiming ownership. Just like my clients, you'll be shocked by the improvement in your marriage, parenting, and personal life when you focus on fulfilling your important unmet needs. Ready to prioritize yourself so you can quit mentally throat punching people? Then grab those earbuds and head outside, and let's walk and talk. Welcome back, my friends. I love talking about all of these things, and I don't think I've talked much about cognitive dissonance before. And this is something that I've thought about and I've taught about. I just haven't talked about it on a podcast episode yet. Now, I mentioned in my last episode that I have had some personal setbacks, and I found myself justifying why I couldn't do things like trainings or even a little bit of travel or doing the things that I needed to reset and recover from these long, hard work hours and life uncertainties and everything that's kind of thrown me around, kind of like I'm in a washing machine a little bit. I kept telling myself, just be patient, just endure this will pass. But I was stuck and I've been unhappy even. And I was the one placing those parameters on myself. I was being the martyr when nobody asked me to. And in the process, I wasn't being as good of a wife or a mother or even a person. So as I was thinking about these things and I came across cognitive dissonance again and reflecting and writing and thinking the things I'll give you for tips to do, I was reminded about the power in cognitive dissonance and how it can help us. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So first and foremost, let's talk about what the heck it means. So cognitive dissonance is a psychological discomfort that we experience when we hold conflicting beliefs or attitudes or behaviors. So this happens when there's that misalignment between your actions and your deeply held values or beliefs. And that leads to this sense of inner conflict or this tension. I wish there were a simpler way to say this, but for now we're just going to call it cognitive dissonance or maybe even CD. Now I want to give you a few examples because people struggle applying this to themselves. And I want you to have a better idea of what this looks like for some clients. So I used fake names and I'm going to give some examples from over the years. Now don't worry if you're my client and you think that I'm going to use your examples. I often combine a few different aspects of others or a general thing, so you don't have to worry that I'm going to tell all your secrets because I will not. But number one, Ben believes in kindness and controlling his temper, but he's so bitter with his ex that he is his worst self every time he thinks of her, and it affects his current relationships. So he struggles being kind when it involves anything to do with her or even being triggered by a memory of her, and he justifies his rudeness. Now, this is not acting in alignment with who he is, and I'll go into that more in just a minute. Second example, Sarah believes in self-care and improving her mental health, but she can't seem to make time for it personally. She gives and gives to her family and feels threadbare and on the verge of breaking down regularly. She is secretly resentful, but she doesn't share this with others. Number 3, Jake believes it's important to cultivate his spirituality, but he doesn't do much besides show up for church. He never seems to find time to read the scriptures or to pray or to meditate or do anything that aligns with his spiritual values. Number 4, Lindsay wants to get in better physical health, but instead she puts on more weight and finds herself shopping or eating or doing things like that more in this attempt to avoid her marriage and parenting problems. Okay, so those were all quick little examples of how people want something, but they're living in this cognitive dissonance. And we're not going to go into each thing like what they can do differently, but I do want you to explore for yourself, okay, how do I compare to these stories? What is mine? How might I be living incongruently? I want to give you 3 quick tips on what you can do. Number 1, this is just 1 time a week, and it only takes 10 minutes. I want you to sit down, maybe your quietest morning. For a lot of people, that's Sundays, but not necessarily. And I want you to take time to reflect on your core values and beliefs. Now, last time I put in the show notes the values worksheet. I'm going to go ahead and put that in again today if you haven't done that yet, so that you can identify what your core values are or your beliefs. Now I want you to identify areas in your life where your actions might not be in alignment with your values. So this requires some honesty, and maybe you can get feedback from loved ones in your family that know you best, so you're not self-deceived here. And I'm going to give you an example here. I value learning and cultivating talents, but maybe I'm not modeling that for my kids. Or maybe I value family togetherness and quality time, but we're all on screens every evening, like something like that. All right, now the second tip is set clear intentions. Keyword here is clear. Define clear intentions and goals that are in harmony with your values. So whether this is personal relationships or career or lifestyle choices, setting those intentions that are aligned with your values can guide that decision-making process. I'm going to give you another example. I signed up for an art class, and we're having a family meeting on how it's important for all family members to cultivate talents and live intentionally without making those excuses. Now, when I say I here for several of those examples, I'm not actually talking about myself. Although I have signed up for art classes that I loved, and I did make excuses before then. So I guess that could be me. All right, tip number 3. This is just 3 tips, guys. So the first one, Sunday morning reflection. The second one, set clear intentions. You can also do that on a Sunday. And this third one is practice authenticity. How do we do that? You can be true to yourself and prioritize authenticity in your thoughts, your words, and your actions. This is kind of like a lifetime thing where you have to put your thoughts on trial. You have to catch yourself when you're about to lie or mislead or do any of those things that would prevent you from being authentic and real with people. But this is where you live in accordance with your values, even if it means stepping outside of your comfort zone or facing challenges. So a lot of people don't like conflict, a lot of my clients, and they can be kind of passive. This is both males and females. They don't recognize how passive they're really being. And living authentically fosters this sense of integrity and that inner peace that comes when we actually live authentically. I'm going to give you another example. Maybe it's being brave on social media and speaking up for what you believe without being rude or unkind, but being that voice. Another thing might be lovingly confronting a friend that's saying hurtful things about what you value. Now, it's not telling them they have to value those things, but telling them how it affects you and remembering that you are as important as other people in the room and that you also deserve respect. It's acting as if you believe that, and also where you treat them as if they matter as much as you do. So one person is not more important or less important. Another example of this is treating drivers or even clerks with the same respect that you would want. Now, this is not always easy. I feel like I became kind of a California driver when I moved to California for a while, and now I wouldn't say aggressive, but definitely assertive. Sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes aggressive. And in Idaho, there's a lot of like farmer type of people that go 10 miles under the speed limit. And I don't always have the best thoughts. So am I treating them authentically, like I want to, in accordance with my values, or am I cursing them out in my head? I don't really use swear words in my head, but I want to sometimes. All right, I just have a few other quick thoughts. Cognitive dissonance is a gift. Like so many things, we can eliminate the shame of having it and just remember that it teaches us something is wrong. Sometimes this can feel like guilt, but we can prevent it from feeling like shame and challenge those thoughts that say, I'm wrong, and change them instead to, what I'm doing isn't in alignment with who I am and who I want to be. When you're so uncomfortable, you'll finally make those changes. So say thank you to that discomfort. I can just visualize you guys thanking this uncomfortable situation and rolling your eyes as you do so. But I promise you, it will help. I just visualize my friend Ashley. She sometimes rolls her eyes at me and I laugh a lot because she cracks me up. So shout out to you, Ashley. Find mentors that will elevate you and get you out of complacency and justification. This is important, my friends. Pay for things that will help you become your best self. And this is not even a plug. Actually, I'm going to make this a plug. This is signing up for coaching. This is getting a therapist. This is paying for those programs that are accountability groups. This is paying for one of my programs where I'm going to have courses to help with marriage and parenting and personal growth. And that's going to have accountability in it. Just like the gym, when you invest in running shoes, when you invest in a personal trainer, you're going to get back more than you pay every time. Well, I can't say every time. If you do nothing, then maybe not. But generally, if you decide you're going to do it and then you put in the work, you can't put a price tag on that. Anything I've signed up for as far as personal growth, I would have paid much more afterwards when I put in the time. I can say that with maybe one exception, but even that, I learned then what I didn't want. And that is still quite priceless, right? 3 more quick things to think about. Stop saying why you can't and explore how you can say yes. I always go back to this little quote that I love. If it's a priority, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. And I can't tell you how many clients I have that come in and keep making excuses and justifications because they're not ready to change yet. And when you are ready, you will stop making excuses. So let's speed up that readiness process. Live your life believing things will work and not why they won't. Remember my example of I'm really wanting to go get more training. I'm really wanting to do some recovery traveling, even if it's just somewhat close. I'm wanting that personal time. I really want financial independence for my family and my husband so he can step away from jobs where they're unstable because other people make decisions that affect him. Or maybe for you, it's something like optimal health or being spiritually strong or whatever it is. Live your life believing that these things will work out. And that cognitive dissonance, again, is a gift. It is something to motivate you to change. If it was comfortable, we'd just stay there forever, right? So again, say thank you to that cognitive dissonance, as cheesy as that sounds. I just want to go back very briefly to those first examples that I gave you. Remember Ben? We talked about his bitterness with his ex. Well, he can recognize what he's doing and stop making excuses for his rudeness and try to live more in alignment by doing whatever he can to work through that, to process that anger. And likely if something like that, if there's that history, that's therapy, trauma therapy maybe, betrayal trauma, whatever that could be. And for Sarah, as far as improving her mental health, but she gives and gives and gives, and she's on the verge of breaking down, and she's resentful. Well, it's also time probably for Sarah to go to counseling and to be an example to her children of what it looks like to give to herself as well. And as far as Jake and living in congruence with his values and his spirituality, he can do that 1%. And maybe that 1% is going on a walk after dinner and just making it a prayer walk. Or maybe it's listening to something spiritual on his way to work 3 days a week, whatever that is. And then the last one, Lindsay, she wants to be in better physical health, but instead she practices escapism with things like shopping and eating more to avoid her problems. Again, for her, she probably needs counseling, yes. like we all do, or an accountability group or something, and come face to face with her problems instead of running from them. So this likely, out of all the examples I gave, you can see yourself in this. And that is my biggest hope, that you can embrace that personal or that family discomfort and recognize the power of cognitive dissonance as this catalyst for change. Because, my friends, it really is a gift. Embrace that cognitive dissonance and live congruently with your values, my friends. Best of luck in your journey, and I will see you back here, as always, in just a few days. Take care. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, chances are someone else would too. Would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who's looking for greater family fulfillment? And while you're sharing, tell me what you think about the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. It refuels me when I hear this podcast is helping you, no matter what your house or your hair looks like. I'll meet you back here every Monday and Thursday morning for more episodes. Until then.